see what I see?
I see a beautiful hamburger.
I bet it's a clue.
Yeah, I bet.
We'd better memorize it.
I don't think we'll have to memorize it. The hamburger's winning.
Boy, my mouth's watering. Let's go.
Come on, boys and gals. Let's have a barbecue.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday!
Wacky fun. All right. We got a great show here.
Hello.
All right. He's ready for the cookout.
Yeah. But that's something that haunts Matthew McConaughey to this day.
Yeah, constant to this day.
That is the only clip of his that was like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I have Oscars now, right?
Right? Seriously.
So,
How many people get Oscars and then they're still known for like the first line in their first movie?
exactly. Like, come on now. That and the bongos, naked
Right.
bongos. Yeah. It's like Robert Downey Jr. is still known as a smackhead, and
Right.
and he's one of the biggest bankable stars in the world right at the moment,
Yep.
So it's like, oh yeah, that guy's a druggie. It's like, yeah, you do know he held up a tent pole of a $1 billion movie series for just well over a decade, right?
Right. Still worth a lot.
Those days are kind of behind him now, So
Yeah.
it is what
All
it
right.
is.
Well, we got a great crew here tonight. We might be joined by more later. Right now, we got CJ, aka writer C.S. Johnson. Go check out her stuff on Amazon. CJ, any other links we should know about?
I'm getting them ready. Sorry.
All right. That's all right. We'll get those. And we got Telepathic Bunny, aka T Bunny. Go check out his book Community Service on Fund My Comic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Go ahead and smash that like and hit that subscribe button. Or is it the other way around? Hit the subscribe, smash that like. I don't know.
No.
Smash that like button.
Well,
hit the bell.
Ring that bell. There it is.
Royce from Drink with Crazy says, "Touch the butt, the like button, the like button." So little risque way.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's what it is.
This is a Christmas show, sir.
Well, it's a button. It's a button.
It is a button.
Touch the button. There you go.
You touch.
Or you could say touch the butt like if they do in Finding Nemo.
There you go. Yeah. See. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So you guys have a good time at church today? Did you have a good service?
We did. My church is going through a series on Exodus right now. And,
Exodus. Oh man. Wow.
Yeah, it's you can extract a lot from Exodus.
You can. There's quite a lot in that book.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we're behind you. We're still in Genesis. We're talking about Joseph and his brothers this week.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. We did a communion service today, and my pastor continued his very brave series on issues that disqualify someone from your vote.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and he's like continuing on that series, and I'm like, if you don't get canceled, you are the best pastor ever. You know.
That is very stunning and very brave indeed.
Yeah, and he's like, if I don't care if this gets me canceled, you know, it's like this is how it is, and you know, he's like, if you cannot vote for someone who doesn't value life if you are Christian, so he took that stand, and I was like, go ahead,
Well,
I mean, yeah,
good on. Yeah. As I was listening to Matt Walsh earlier this week, and he was talking about Barbenheimer, as the internet's calling it. And he said one film was about a destructive force that has claimed millions of lives, and the other is about the atomic bomb.
Yep.
I saw that one coming.
Well, it's Matt Walsh. He probably said, you know, this very, you know, matter-of-factly, dryly, you know.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. It's weird because you know it's EVS, you know, the Ethan Van Sciver actually came down and saying he enjoyed it, and the kind of like backlash he was getting, and he's like, "Oh wait, I just said I enjoyed it," you know, and because all of the usual suspects have like decried it as you know, as woke feminist garbage and stuff.
Sure. And honestly, understandably so, but at the same time, I chose to go see Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day.
Right.
You know, not because they're films that might strike my fancy or that I might agree with, but simply because I haven't been to a movie with a big group of friends since before 2020.
Right.
And it just sounded like a fun thing to do. But the benefit, you know, the upside
the
of it
funny
is,
thing about it is Ken is supposed to be a figure of kind of derision. Yeah, and he's become like the breakout star of the movie. Everybody talks about Ken.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like a Rorschach in Watchmen. You know, right. Alan Moore's like, you're not supposed to like Rorschach, and everybody's like, Rorschach's my favorite.
Right. It's also like The Last Jedi. You know, they accidentally made a film about somebody about a supporting character.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling, I think you could probably tell from the commercials, stole the show, but his character, the way he's written, steals the show in other ways too, not just Ryan Gosling's performance.
Right. It's funny. It's for what the reviews I listened to, and I listened to is people who were like kind of neutral. You know, the people that didn't come into it with an ideological bent or wanting to make clickbait. And they all said the same thing, that when Ken took over Barbie Land, he improved it.
Yeah, the Barbies were happier, and they had to be convinced that the feminist way of life they were living before was better.
Right.
And they had to be abducted one by one and then convinced. It's like, you're brainwashed, and we're going to unbrainwash you. It looks like you're brainwashing right now.
Exactly.
Do you know? So I've watched a lot of reviews, and I have a lot of friends that went to go see it. I didn't care. I do not care. I really do not care. But this kind of reaction, though, it makes me think of that that dress picture, like where it's like blue or black, or it's white and gold,
right?
And like people were so like angry if you disagreed with that. Because it's like clearly it's one color. It's this color.
Yeah, clearly it was blue and black. I don't know what the rest of you were looking at, but you know,
right? It's all white and gold, you maniac.
Right. So I really think Greta Gerwig that's her signature look. Is just, she just shows up in this dress. Her product is in this dress. And if you are looking for the based elements there, and there's enough evidence to support your claim, and then if you're looking for the woke stuff, it's there, and there's enough evidence to support your claim, and then so I honestly think that's the best way to explain this.
Well, you know, I have to admit, I'm inclined to be hostile towards Greta Gerwig, because they're giving her C.S. Lewis.
I am not looking forward to this.
No.
So.
No,
for those who don't know, she's going to be doing Chronicles of Narnia.
Just
Yeah.
some of the episodes, but it's still like that's enough to make me like I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Judging from what's happened to some of the most beloved, I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien, I mean, what they did to Tolkien. I can only imagine what they're going to do to C.S. Lewis, because Tolkien avoided allegory and C.S. Lewis leaned into it. So, I mean, they're already talking about, we're going to have to downplay the Christological elements of Aslan. And I'm
Which
like,
is ridiculous because Aslan is that.
He is the Christological element.
Yeah. I mean, they did that to Superman. Well, they didn't really, because they still had a lot of Christ-like imagery in Superman.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, like Superman was supposed to be like Moses, though. So
right. Yeah. Well,
I don't know. There are lots of things about the series development that just make me leery, and I don't think anybody in particular will do a good job with it. But I know a lot of people would do a terrible job. I'd rather give the series to Michael Bay, and I do not hesitate to like go 100% behind this, because like
right.
at least you get some like fun camera work.
Right.
Well, I watched all 3 of the movies, and I actually liked all 3 movies. But The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe in particular was very good. Very good.
It's the best one still.
Yeah.
I know why they didn't go at past Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So.
Yeah. Well, the last of the Pevensey kids aged out after Dawn Treader. Was the last one that they'd be in. And the kid they brought on to be Eustace, I don't know. They keep sticking him and stuff, and he is not a star. He is just not a star. In fact, he's one of the oddest looking people. He's one of the oddest looking people I've ever seen in my life.
Well, people say that about Adam Driver too, I think. And
Adam's very odd.
He is
very
an
odd
odd dude.
looking. No.
Can you have a British American or a British version of Adam Driver? So.
Right. There you go. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just that the Narnia books are very near and dear to me because in a very dark moment in my childhood when nothing made sense, I was handed Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the little white books that they used. It was just like, and I was handed the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I went through the wardrobe into Narnia, and it took me out of my childhood for a little while, and it gave me a love for that kind of like escapism in literature,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of showed me that balance that you can strike between Christianity and fiction.
Yeah.
And,
have you ever read his space trilogy?
No, I haven't.
I haven't.
Okay.
I'm aware of its existence. But I haven't read it.
Okay. So actually, you guys should read it this week because we're talking about aliens this week, and it's basically C.S. Lewis's take on aliens, and I love it.
Oh, well, I read the Screw Tape Letters. Does that count?
Well, the basic premise of so the first book is Out of the Silent Planet, and it's one of my favorite books. So
yeah, okay.
No, Till We Have Faces is my favorite book by him. My most consistently favorite book ever, too. Which is, I'm a Lewis fan.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I think Mere Christianity is the best, greatest parachurch Bible book that's ever been written. Para Bible book that's ever been written.
Yeah, that was the first book that when I read it, I could hear it in my head and somewhat in my heart, and I liked it. So.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I gave my copy to my atheist best friend in high school. So. I'm pretty sure he's a communist now, but
oh no.
So obviously he didn't read it. Yeah, obviously.
What's funny though is like I sent him the first chapter without telling him where the chapter came from, and he was like, "Oh, you have some good points in this document that you sent me," and I'm like, "Here, it's from this book," and then he was like, "It was funny."
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Started hissing at me. It's like, oh no, I said you did it. The Christian book. oh no, I gave credit to it. Oh no.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. It's if you take Jesus out of a lot of the stuff and you just like give the philosophical statements that he made. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's right on, that's dead on, and you're like, oh well, Jesus said that. Well, there's something wrong with it. Let me figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it had a lot of historical telephone games or something. That's usually the one I get to deal with. It's like,
yeah. Well, there was this guy that I was acquainted with, and he went through our judgment house, and at the end of it, he gave his heart and life to Christ, but he didn't understand why he did that, and he was just befuddled because it was like Christianity was anti everything that he believed in. He thought, and so when he was talking about, I was like, well, what's your objections? I mean. Because he honestly, I believe he was saved because that's all growth, over time. But he was just befuddled how that happened, and it was like, what's your biggest objection? He's like, well, it's just like it's conformist, right? And I was like, Jesus conformist? Well, let me tell you, let me explain something to you. And I walked him through how Jesus was the biggest counterculture, figure that's ever lived, and by the time I got to the end of it, he was kind of like, okay, I think I want to know more. I was like, yeah. So got him to read the Gospels. I got him to read the Gospels at least. But
the funny thing about apologetics is got to be tailored to the specific audience.
Yeah, it
you
definitely does.
Your audience with that guy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny how Jesus has become associated with a conformist ideology or conformist point of view, and it's because the people who, used Christianity to create conformity,
right? And
that's not what it was designed for.
Yeah.
I know the moral majority when it got started up in the mid '80s. I know what the reasoning behind it, but I honestly think it did Christianity a huge disservice, and I think it contributed to the partisanship we're seeing now, and the fact that the political left has gone so far off the rails because Christianity kind of extracted out of the leftist ideology, and so unmoored from any kind of morality. This is what you get,
right? And that's typically the case, I think, when political power mixes with Christianity, because Christianity is so contrary to any sort of worldly power. When you mix it with political power, you get natural contradictions. I think people who don't understand Christianity and just glean an understanding from those who call themselves Christians, it's easy to misunderstand it that way. Oh
yeah, definitely. It's a nice cover for people to hide behind too. There's like a guy running for president right now who I trust about as far as I could shot put him, and he got on with Tucker Carlson and really showed his colors, and everybody's like, I can't believe he said that, and I was like, have you not been paying attention to who this guy is? Yes, but he's Christian, but he's this Christian father, and I was like, you know them by their fruit. By their fruit.
That's good advice.
Ow.
Who said that?
People we know them by some of the people that has plenty of fruit and nuts running around. So.
Yeah. We're fruit inspectors. We're not to try to determine from the outside, but we watch the results, what comes out of it. That's how we know what we're looking at.
Right.
But
very true.
Anyway, aliens. There you
aliens. I wish I had that meme of that guy. Aliens. C.S. Lewis's take on aliens. CJ, go.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Out of the Silent Planet is talking about Mars. In the sense that, the Silent Planet is Earth. Okay, and Dr. Ransom is this like language professor. It's kind of like Tolkien. And he gets abducted by these two guys, and they end up going to Mars, and they find like an alien civilization there. But they haven't been corrupted like by sin the way that humanity has. And so Ransom has like this difficult time. Like he learns their language and he befriends some of the people, and he like escapes the people that kidnapped him, and he lives with the natives for a while, and he learns their language, and he tries to explain what life is like on the bent planet, the silent planet. And he ends up like with a lot of inner confusion as he's trying to explain difficult things that like they don't have on Mars that we have, like issues with like sin and like disharmony and civilization, like go to war, kill each other and stuff. Yeah, it's very interesting. But there's it's basically got a lot of angel allegories and demon allegories and stuff too. And then the second book, it's I think it's Prelandra. I can't say it right. That's the only one that I can't say right. And it delves into more of like the kind of like the Eden theology. And then the last one, most people know, like That Hideous Strength. A lot of people have compared it to the UK's what is it? The UK's like death squads or death courtrooms
in the UK.
Yeah, like they have like they decide whether or not you can live sometimes.
Oh yeah, the tribunals.
Yes,
death panels. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I did not realize the UK had those. I knew that was a big thing in Canada.
Canada's got them.
Yeah. I imagine with socialized medicine, it kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah.
Well, when you run out of everybody else's money and you don't have any either.
Yep. Some people.
Paralandria, by the way.
Paralandria. Okay.
Paralandria. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
You're pretty close. You're real close.
I'm one of those people that I read more than like I would be read to or listen to. So when I say stuff wrong, people will look at me weird, and I'm like, I read too many books. So it doesn't help that like I have my own accent either. So I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and Western Pennsylvania has its own vernacular in the United States. We have our own accent.
Yeah, you don't sound like someone from the South.
Yeah,
No.
I think it's the mix of Dutch, because all the Dutch that came in. Yeah.
Well, it's a mix of the German, the Dutch,
Dutch,
and then the Scots-Irish, and then the actual like the third wave too of immigrants that came. So we got my dad's family then with the Czechs, the Slovaks, the Yugoslavs, and the
wow.
Yep.
So, that's a mutt right there.
I've had people come up to me and they're like, "Are you from Western Europe?" Or not Western, or are you Eastern European? And I'm like, no. But yes, I am.
Well, they ever ask you to say, we're going to get moose and squirrel or anything?
We're, I do have some Russian in my family's bloodline, but it's a little bit further back.
Wow, gotcha. Yeah.
Never been that bad.
Yeah. Well, whatever I got in my wood pile, none of them tanned very well. That's all. If I could just get it, why couldn't somebody be attracted to an Indian somewhere in my ancestry? Come on, just one Indian. If I had one Indian, I could tan. So.
I will say this: I kind of laugh at racism in the sense that, like, my mom's family is like I said, they're Western European sense, and I have older parents, so like this stuff mattered when they got married. Is like my dad was a good Catholic Czechoslovak young man, and he was marrying a Scottish Irish Protestant Presbyterian.
In other words, cats and dogs, basically.
Yeah, I mean they're both white, but it's like you can find other reasons to hate people, and there were just it amuses me that people like one of the things that I hated really bad about Black Panther was that like especially with Wakanda Forever or Wakanda Forever, whatever it is.
Wakanda,
was like
yeah.
Wakanda. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, whatever. They had to really play up the idea that Black people should all help each other. And it's like, have you met people from Africa? They don't actually like a lot of African Americans.
I have a friend who's from Kenya, and he says even in Kenya, they may not have racism, but they have their own different, it's literal tribalism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't it still like is Zulu or Rwanda that they all have to speak in English because all their tribes are fighting with each other?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how Kenya is divided specifically, but he was saying like people find things like in the United States, from what tribe you're from and what your lineage is. And
well, Rwanda had a genocide.
Yeah.
And so you don't talk about racism. That's racism right there.
Yeah, and it was over the silliest things. When you get down to it, racism is basically some like Dr. Seuss story gone nightmarish, right?
Like the Sneetches.
People with the stars on the bellies and the ones who don't. Yeah.
Well, we are talking about aliens, but I'm not entirely sure it's aliens from outside the planet.
I'm very pro humanity, so it's okay to be racist against aliens.
Well, it's
right.
It just I guess like I grew up with like a lot of white on white racism. Right. Comparatively, and most people don't care. And maybe most people don't care, so it's still one of those things where it's like I remember my childhood.
Right. It's just so ridiculous. It's just melanin. It's just like it's the quarter inch of melanin. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Oh. I'm actually part Mexican. You wouldn't know it.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
The Irish and Mexicans and my mom's side got married. They're both very Catholic, so at least they had things in common.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd like to think that my parents have a very beautiful love story like that. It's like even with their very diverse backgrounds, they still have a bunch of mutts running around. Yeah.
On my dad's side, they have a pretty cool story. It's basically like you've seen the movie Far and Away with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. Their story is kind of like that. It was in colonial times, and they ran off to the United States. They were English, and they couldn't be together because of their class differences.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Aristocrat, basically. With
they did the Oklahoma land grab.
Yeah. That's a good movie.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about.
We're talking about aliens. So
yeah, sorry.
I wanted to mention that is one of the things that Ransom can't really explain to the Harasa, which is the Martian creatures. And Hayoi is his like best friend that kind of saves him from these the like kind of like sharkish kind of creatures, I guess, that are attacking them in the waters in Mars. And he can't explain like racism very well.
Yeah. But sounds a little bit like John Carter from of Mars, That's interesting. I was part of this show called Cannabis and Conspiracies for a little while. My partner's whole entire raison d'etre is that he smokes a lot of pot, so it was just naturally that was what we came up with. And during the course of my research, I ran across, I remember watching this movie a long time ago called Fire in the Sky. And it was the recollections of one Travis Walton, is his name. And I during researching that particular show we did, I started watching videos of this guy, and he is really convincing. I mean, he's laconic. He's matter of fact. None of his details were really drifted at all since he first gave interviews, all the way till now. And the way he talked about his encounter, the movie, of course, made it more terrifying than it really was. But he believes that he was like the dog that wandered into the road and got hit by a car, and then a person took the dog to the vet and stayed around long enough to make sure it was okay, and then drove off. because he felt like they were there to like for other reasons, and he just happened to be hit by like a backwash from the engine or something, and they picked him up and took him into their ship to repair him. And then because the first thing he did was start swinging at him when he was the aggressor. He started swinging at him as soon as he woke up, and they looked annoyed. They just looked annoyed. and so they had this other creatures that were more that looked almost humanoid that came in and like took him and saw to him, and then they just basically left him by the side of the road and took off. It's like as soon as they figured out that he was fine, because his heart stopped. He completely stopped his heart. So I guess the aliens were like, "Oh no, we screwed up. We hurt somebody. Or we hurt this creature," because he doesn't even think he thinks he was more like a stray dog. That they were such a lower life form to them that they weren't probing him. They weren't looking like. They weren't trying to figure out how he worked or anything. They were just like, oh, okay, let's fix this so we can go. And he said he's really disappointed that he was too terrified to actually, because he thinks they would have taught that he could have learned something from them if he hadn't been so, terrified. But that's the most convincing story I've heard. It just makes a lot of psychological sense. Why would higher life forms want to probe people and do stuff like that? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But his account really makes a lot more sense to me. But
yeah, I could see how they'd see him as a stray dog, and that's interesting because then it implies that aliens have some kind of ethics.
Yeah.
But not to say it's impossible, but it's interesting to think of the possibilities. Right.
Well, that particular area was prone to a lot of lightning strikes, and they've seen a lot of unidentified flying objects there, or UAEs, I guess they're calling them now.
You gotta change the name for everything,
Yeah, I know. You gotta change the name for everything.
If you call a toilet a latrine,
right?
Does it change what it is?
There you go. But there's speculation that because of the extreme lightning strikes and stuff in that area, that's where they recharged their engines. And so he believed they were it was basically them at the gas station, charging up there, and he got too close and got injured, and his fellow logger friends took off and left him, basically thinking he was dead. And so the aliens were like, we're stuck, we're stuck with this guy. And so he's not entirely sure that they wouldn't have fixed him and gave him back to the guys in the truck, but that's why they left him outside the road. It's kind of like, all right, he's back, he's back up and operating. Let's put him, let's stick him out somewhere. So
yeah, but
it's an interesting story. It's an interesting perspective, of course. During the course of that show, also did cattle mutilations and some other stuff like that. That's really, really creepy stuff. But at the end of the day, it seems like there's some kind of crossover between what the government's doing without our knowledge and aliens being blamed for everything. Yeah, and so there's there's plenty of theories out there that this is all just a distraction for something else.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. We are easily distracted, but they also seem to like to distract us, right? I don't even know what to think anymore.
Yeah,
a lot of people probably feel the same way.
I saw the meme that said, I wanted to believe in aliens, but then my government told me it was true. And I was like, oh, okay, there we go.
Right. I've seen a lot of them that say, yeah, aliens are real. Release the Epstein's client list.
yeah, I saw that. Oh, aliens are real, really? Where's that Epstein client list again?
Right, yeah.
Oh,
But-
well, who else do we have to give human rights to at this point? So I honestly think people need for aliens to be real more than anything else. So
Yeah.
I was actually chit-chatting in the chat with Bayonet about, I don't really particularly
You guys
care.
had an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I don't particularly care if aliens are real or not. I'm okay if they are. I'm okay if they are. It's not gonna dislodge my faith. Okay.
Right.
If I wake up from the Matrix, maybe then my faith will be a little bit. I don't know.
Right.
I think
Twerked
waking up in
around,
the Matrix would just be like the multiverse being true. I don't think it would affect my faith because
Yeah.
the multiverse
See,
can be true, but then you still need
even
an ultimate cause. It goes back to the Kalam argument.
I'm actually okay with the multiverse theory being true in a sense because like all the bad things, all the bad versions of me would go into hell. And it's like maybe that's all the good versions of me that have been washed by the blood of Christ would go to heaven. And I'm like, oh, see, I could handle that.
Well, I have a my world. My comic is actually taking part in a parallel world where some kind of alien technology does exist, and so as a matter of fact, the primary building block of my world is this tiny little machines that are either there for aliens or from some kind of ancient humanity. It's never really clarified, but the working theory is that it's like an alien civilization try to terraforming on that world, and so because of these little tiny microscopic machines being in the very fabric of the world, when they turn on in someone running off of their soul, they basically give them powers. And so it's a little complicated, but I also addressed in if Jesus was one of these people that had these things turned on in them, and there's somebody actually that dates back that far and actually knew or met Jesus, and he tells him no, he was something else. So I actually addressed that. So was he just a mirror human that had these turned on like us, or was he something else? And it's like he was something else.
Yeah.
So they obeyed him, but he was something else.
Yeah, see, I kind of look at it like I was telling Bennett, like, I don't actually think aliens exist. I don't really care if they do. Okay, like, if they do, okay. Like, that's totally the meme at that point. It's like, I got a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, those things.
Right.
But the reason I don't think they exist, in the sense is just because, like, in the Bible, it's like God created man. And so, like, human life, intelligence, it's all here. For now that we know of, and I haven't seen enough proof or humanoid aliens, I guess, to come out of the woodwork. And there are like isn't it like over 2,000 things that you need to like?
It's a growing list in order for life to exist on a planet.
Yeah, it's like the Goldilocks type thing. And
it's a continually growing list. I remember I took an astronomy class, and I was talking to an astronomer who's in our family, and he's actually famous.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if I should just shout his name out, but he is. There is actually a famous astronomer, Christian apologist in our family. But I was talking to him, and he said,
not Neil deGrasse Tyson then. Definitely.
No, not him. But I do have a multiracial family. It's possible, That's not him.
Right. There you go.
No, but we were talking about what I learned in that class, and he said, yeah, that theory, like a few months ago, was proven obsolete. And like the list of what's required for life to exist on the planet is actually continually growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's harder and harder.
Yeah. The intelligent design people are like, oh, that fits, and the evolutionists are like, purses.
Yeah.
Multiverse. Bigger universe.
Right.
Bigger.
One of my the multiverse is like the famous cop out, but even if the multiverse is true, that's not even problematic for Christianity because the multiverse requires a cause, just like a single universe does.
Yeah. I will say, like, part of it too is like, it's like that the theory of entropy is what is pretty much the first thing that trips me up. Is like, I'm a mom, so I do laundry all the time, and my laundry has never come out folded. You know, I always have to get it out, and I always have to fold it and put it away. You know, the idea that one day it could just randomly come out folded is beyond. That's an impossibility.
Definitely. Well, I mean, the all the arguments for intelligence design seem to like bear themselves out, because there's nothing like technological that exists in humanity that wasn't like conceived or built or invented or assembled. There's nothing humanity has ever had technological wise that wasn't first like conceived by someone somewhere, and so the idea that the whole entire universe was conceived by someone put into order, it makes so much more sense than bam, it's order.
Yeah, it's like the watchmaker argument. Is if you're walking through the woods and you found a watch, obviously that's not natural. Someone thought of and designed that watch.
Right.
I will say, like, I'll be the first person to say I don't mind playing with the idea. I really don't. I like playing with ideas.
Oh yeah, that's what we do for fun.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking of that laundry thing. Alvin Planiga, the philosopher, was talking about like using that analogy in a poker game. Like if someone just kept coming up with a royal flush every time, or just had aces in every hand, you would suspect them of cheating. If they were a cowboy in the Old West, they get shot. People wouldn't be sitting around. Well, and that guy wouldn't just stand up and say, "Hey, fellas,
well, the luck of this
possible world where someone like me just has aces in every hand is extremely unlikely, but it could happen." No.
Well, there's this guy. He's called a card mechanic, and he's completely banned from ever playing in Vegas or anywhere else. He's actually blind. He's an incredible guy, and he showed that he could take random, like shuffled up cards, shuffled up by other people, and actually deal winning hands. Like he dealt, like just let these. He did it on Penn and Teller's Fullest, and he had them like shuffle it up, and then he handed it to him, and he managed to deal 4 of a kind to one of them.
Oh, we got a latecomer here.
Yeah. Oh.
You're out of whiskey.
Oh.
Hey, whiskey, welcome.
I'm a little intimidated, to be honest, with your avatar. Just a little bit there. Anyway.
It's like the WWE entrance where they just come in the middle.
No, I just heard dong, dong.
Right.
Because
you look like the Undertaker right now.
There we go. Rising out of the floor,
Yeah.
Man, that was great. That was great stuff. Anyway.
I missed everything, didn't
No.
I?
We're just cooking. We're just cooking.
Yeah, it's a cookout.
It's a cookout.
It's a cookout.
Yeah.
We're talking about aliens.
We're talking about aliens, and we're all talking about intelligent design. So if God were like, if aliens existed, then God would have created them. So you believe, like, as we do, in intelligent design. So
are they a creation of God, or are they, as some people might think, demons from beyond the stars?
I actually am okay with the demon theory. So I grew up, when I was younger, I watched Signs, and I think that has that makes sense to me. So
I'll think Mel Gibson movie, right?
Yes.
Do you think they struggle with doors, though? They could come across millions of light years and then not be able to open a door.
And settle on a planet with a substance that's toxic to them.
Right.
Over 3/4 of it.
Yeah.
There's a few questions in that movie.
Not the brightest aliens out there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It was a
Well,
great
that's
movie.
kind of the
Not
reason why there are theories that they actually are kind of demons because of like the holy water and the
Oh, interesting. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. So
Mhm.
for what it's worth, I think M. Night Shyamalan actually did grow up in Pennsylvania, like I did,
Oh.
and I recognized a lot of the references. So when I
Hmm.
saw that, I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is.
Right.
So,
The thing about being pins, the wife is actually real. That does happen. Just
Okay.
paramedic 2 cents. That does happen. Crush syndrome.
yeah.
Right. The wife being pinned, and yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that I think aliens is like when somebody's like saying, well, it doesn't fit our faith, it doesn't fit like our Christianity or whatever, and I don't know. I mean, Christianity is a lot more wide open than people think it is. You know.
I agree with that. That's why, like, I don't mind if there are aliens. I'd probably try to convert them. So,
Well, I mean, there's unidentified flying objects all in the Bible. I mean, Ezekiel saw the wheel and the wheel and the wheel. I mean, what the heck was that? You know.
there you go, alien starship.
There's things all in. There's things all in the Revelations. You know, and there's all airborne phenomenon and stuff like that all through the Bible. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the idea that UFOs are real, I'm okay with too. Like, because like most people mistake Venus for one all the time.
Right.
So,
Right.
and there's some that aren't identified right away. I've seen some of the latest technology from like different countries, like on the war front, and there's some countries that have this ability to like hack our satellites and put pictures on our maps in the computers that are reading it, and so you can look down on the earth and say, hey, there's an island there that wasn't there before, or there's no island there in real life, or maybe Themyscira is real, right? So,
right.
So I think you can play a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you can play with when it comes to technology and basically the science fiction train of thought.
Well, I mean, I just think that it's really odd that, the timing of it's really odd. Suddenly, we're talking about UAEs and aliens and stuff like that during the Biden administration.
With re-election coming up. You don't want to talk about the guy being re-elected who has a little approval. You want to talk about literally anything else.
Well, and the fact that we had a UAE flying all over the United States and they didn't do anything about that one.
Right.
Until it was safely outside the United States and had, transmitted all its data. Now we can blow it up. Yeah, now let's blow it down. But we didn't want to harm anybody in ass crack, what was it, Wyoming?
Right.
You know how many people are in Wyoming? Like
less than Alaska. It's the lowest.
Less than Alaska, and so we didn't want to hurt anybody if we shot it down over Wyoming.
Right.
Excuse me. And the Wyoming people were like, "We're totally fine if you shoot it down in Wyoming." We're
totally they're all like, "We'd shoot it if we could reach that high."
We shoot it down
I was
ourselves.
more concerned that they had something inside the balloon that they didn't want to get shot out with it. Like I live in the South, and right now it's like mosquito hunting season, and I was like, all you would need would be a bunch of genetically modified mosquitoes full of some kind of disease, and you could wipe this out pretty easily. So yeah, let's go ahead and shoot it down over the Atlantic Ocean.
So you've heard of the Bill Gates mosquito farms, huh? Okay.
Oh, well, who's to say he didn't sell the balloon to China to stop global warming? So.
Well, they don't. To be fair, they don't need a balloon to release a biological agent. They recently just raided a lab in Los Angeles that was an illegal lab that was doing experiments on deadly biological agents, like plagues and all kinds of stuff that basically.
See, I would say causality for that one. I heard TV was going.
It was a Chinese biolab a secret biolab in Los Angeles, and I was just recently on the news. There was a news article about it. So it's like they don't need it to be up there for that particular. It probably just painting targets if that balloon was the case.
And by the way, aliens are real.
By the way, aliens are real.
Yeah.
Over here.
Right.
Over here. Pay no attention to the cocaine in the private quarters of the White House.
Yes,
You know, over here, aliens. Look at that. Yep. Oh, we can't find it. We can't figure out who dropped the cocaine. No idea. You know, most heavily guarded residents in the whole entire planet with cameras on every square inch. Cannot figure out who dropped the cocaine. So, but aliens are real. Aliens.
Right.
Remember aliens.
Well, they came
over
just
here.
they came just in time to be entertained by our clown show.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Didn't the prosecuting right now do the same thing his opponent did years ago? I don't know. Aliens are real.
There you go. Yeah, I'm sure if the aliens were to like take in one like, well, this is the most powerful man on the planet. Maybe we should watch a press conference.
Never mind.
Okay.
They're either going to turn around or blow the place up.
Yeah. So this is the pinnacle of humanity right there. The guy that can't find his way, to the door after a speech. Okay. Yeah. The guy that's been led around by the Easter Bunny on the, Okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
So
I will say, like, I talked to my kids about if you meet the president, because my sister went up on a trip up north and they stopped in Washington D.C. and they're like, "Did you get to see the president?" And they're like, "What would you say to him?" And I would say, I would tell him,
"Get out of my hair."
I would tell him I like ice cream a lot too.
Sorry.
To the extent I talk about politics with my children. So
there you go. Right. I like ice cream too. Anyway, but
one of the things, sorry to interrupt you there.
Go ahead.
I had a previous joke or comment that I made to a friend a little while ago, is when we talked about aliens, and I think they first brought up the this whole unidentified UAP or UAE, whatever UAF thing, right? So what if the aliens were just Mormons and they just straight up landed in the Midwest?
Yeah.
What if the Mormons were correct the entire time?
There you go. Right. Yeah, my housemate happens to grew up Mormon, and he's talking about all these food reserves that the Mormons told us to get. And every time something happens, like a new food plant gets burned down and mysteriously, or China buys up more farmland or through Bill Gates, and it's just like all this stuff is like, this is our food resources, what's going to happen if they take complete seize control of our food resources? And he's like, Mormons, food, they told us this was coming, so all right, okay. But
Well,
I can't argue with it.
Circling back to the discussion about like aliens and how they might be demons or they might be like part of God's creation. I'm more in the camp of that would be part of God's creation, right? Like I don't consider a dog to be necessarily like a demon, or I don't consider animals that I don't necessarily in the deep sea to be demons. I just think, and I haven't been able to find it, and I've talked to other people, and I can't find any specific details in the gospel about otherworldly creatures being aliens, other than hellfire and all that stuff, but like nothing about extraterrestrials, right? So why wouldn't they be God's creation? Why wouldn't they be just other beings out there, possibly intelligent? We don't necessarily know if they have their own savior that God made them in his own image. We don't know if they look exactly like us. For all we know, it could be exactly like Stargate. You go to the next planet, you go through the gate, and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Right, exactly. Why is everybody humanoid?
And why does it all look like Vancouver?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Death and taxes are universal, don't you know?
Well, yeah, I've often speculated about, just just how many times did Christ have to die? If there were other lives on other worlds, would the
That would
salvation
suck.
plan be the same?
Crucifixion was like bad enough one time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Are they all heathens?
There you go.
Who knows?
See,
Well-
I would kind of make it analogous to like the places in the world that haven't heard the gospel yet. Or yeah, like I think it's like we're down to like 7,000 languages that the Bible hasn't been translated into or something like that. Or maybe that's all they have and they need more. I don't know. But it's a very small area, and a lot of the stories like from the 20th century that came in about like missionaries and their work are really interesting. Like I forget where it was exactly, but there was like a tribe that had like somebody had a vision that two white men would come and give them the message of salvation
Mhm.
I
one
think it was the
day.
Mayans or something like that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was South American. So
Okay.
and then they showed up and they were like, "Oh, we've been waiting for you."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think of, like, oh, is there alien? Where it's like, oh, we've been waiting for you. We've had prophets say that you'll come and give us the message of that we need to hear about how to be saved. And
Well,
and
yeah, it's you got anomalies in the Bible like Melchizedek, who was a follower of the El Elyon, who was and Abraham. He was so far along in his faith that Abram at the time bowed to him, as as the king of Salem, and it's this mysterious guy that shows up, and he seemed to have a faith already, and there's a verse about eternity in their hearts, that God has set eternity in their hearts, and there's a book out that I read when I was in ministry school, where it talked about all these cultures that the people would go into, these missionaries would go into, and they have this principle where they'll look around in that culture for usually in every culture there's some kind of something that points to Christ in every culture, no matter how remote, no matter how outside of the mainstream, or how little they've been exposed to other cultures. There's always something in that culture that they can use to point to Christ, and
yeah,
and it's just so all of humanity has the knowledge that there is that there is a God. Zoroastrian faith is actually older than Christianity, older than Judaism, and they have a monotheistic, and they a lot of things in common with the monotheistic, and so who's to say some aliens, when they land, that they wouldn't already have those elements in their culture.
I like what you said, CJ, about the problems with Space Jesus.
Oh, like yes, Space Jesus. Oh, he ascended to the Father. Maybe he's just going off to different alien worlds. It's like,
Yeah, I did write in my comic book that there are different alien species that are more intelligent than humans, and they have a knowledge of God's existence, kind of like a Zoroastrian, I guess, but they do come only in like good and evil variety, because they wouldn't be without being in the image of God, they wouldn't be have any grace or salvation available to them. So they'd be like angels in the sense that they're either good or they're evil.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I also wrote in a species that's similar enough to humans for us to interbreed with them and create sort of a Spock-like species. And they are in the image of God and have salvation and grace available to them. And I brought a lot from Tolkien, because one of my favorite things about Lord of the Rings is the different relationships between the races he creates, and how it kind of puts in perspective what man is.
Yeah.
And I kind of borrowed from Tolkien and made one of the races kind of like the elves. I think the mixed race group is kind of like the elves to humans.
Well, it's interesting. Like in the comic book that I wrote, you know, there is Christianity. My main character is a Christian, you know, and so yeah, to have that available, I had to, you know, I had to answer all the questions as to okay, is this a parallel world? It's close to our own. You know, this is the differences in it. How would Christ still exist in this world? And I was like, well, so I kind of had to like answer those questions for myself. Anytime you write fiction that you include faith in, you have to answer these questions. And you know, I didn't see any reason why that you know, to change pretty much anything having to do with Christ and Christianity. So because it seemed to be compatible, you know, unfortunately. But I can see where other people would have difficulties with that. Every time they've addressed it in Doctor Who, they've just completely butchered it, you know.
Yeah, the mainstream media gets it. Yeah, they butcher it all the time.
All the time. You know. But you know, you go to like you know, my culture, does exist like alien technology and things like that, and so I just, you know, I had to answer these questions for myself, you know, before I you know, wrote what I wrote. So
yeah, I like doing that with my own writing for what it's worth. So, but I actually have to head out, guys. So
okay.
We actually are at about an hour. And that's kind of our goal time anyway. We could continue next time. I think do a part 2 because we haven't even touched.
I know we've been like off and on throughout the summer, so maybe just one topic every time would be.
Yeah.
We go off on enough.
I threw a lot at this one. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. Here's how the whole news cycle go.
Nothing wrong with the news cycle for what it's worth.
No problem. Yeah,
you guys have a good night.
All right. With that, I think
see you later.
We better probably do our send off. But
all right.
Thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Even the appetizing process of broiling the hamburgers is fun and promotes friendship and good fellowship.